Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Moreno Show. I hope you are feeling good today because I got some good stories to share with you. So one of the things I want to talk about is Scott Jennings last night on CNN was talking about the Supreme Court victory as well as the passing of the voter ID initiative in Wisconsin. And this is actually a really big deal. And I got some thoughts on it and want us to talk about it. And I also wanted to talk about Calley Means today, just obliterated a Politico reporter just this morning, and I thought it was actually incredible because he goes on to defend RFK Jr. and HHS as they go through these massive layoffs at the department. And I think we really need to be talking about this. And speaking of RFK Jr., RFK Jr. sat down recently with someone from the Blaze, and they were talking about a new food pyramid. I had no idea they were working on this, but it was a pleasant surprise. It was almost like the cherry on a top to my day, and I thought this was incredible. And in this moment, he also takes a jab at the Biden administration for being essentially unworkable, as he said. And I thought that was fascinating. But let's go ahead and start here with Scott Jennings as he talks about the Supreme Court victory for the Democrats. Okay, let's go ahead and jump right in. Also, guys, if you like having conversations like this, please consider liking and subscribing. It's one of the best ways you can help me out. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in.
I do think the Republican takeaways tonight are going to be this. In Florida, Democrats burned about $20 million on 2 congressional campaigns where both Republicans look like they're going to get around 57% of the vote. Yes, not as high as what Donald Trump got, but certainly commanding victories. Democrats were down in the low 40s, Republicans again at 57%. Wisconsin, the voter ID initiative that Donald Trump was heavily involved in and heavily supported, that's a big issue for Republicans and conservatives. Last I saw, it was passing at about a rate of 60-40, so they're going to like that. I agree with you that Democrats have a nice win on the Supreme Court here, called it early in the night. But for Republicans tonight, I do think a lot of people were sort of bracing for impact, that, what was going to happen tonight, and what do we find out? Republicans are okay in their Florida districts, and voter ID is still a popular thing. There's a bunch of people that voted for a liberal Supreme Court justice and turned around and voted voter ID tonight in Wisconsin, which shows you the popularity of that issue, which has been a Republican issue.
Okay, did you hear that? Again, talking about voter ID, and yes, this is a Republican issue. Maybe it shouldn't be, but according to the media, according to specific polls, so many people really believe that this is an issue that has taken over the right-osphere, as they say. But I do love what he just described. So many people just voted for a liberal judge and then turned around to vote for more enforcement of voter ID laws. Isn't that crazy? That is wild. In a world where so many people believe that this is a vote blue no matter who, or I'm going to go red all the way. Like, those are the stories that we're often being told. But what I'm seeing right now through this segment, as well as even looking at some of the data regarding voter ID. Again, fine, he didn't perform as well as Trump did, but I think it does raise some eyebrows as to what the political arena is going to look like post-Trump. Are we moving closer to a world, and this is what I really want to say, are we moving closer to a world and a political arena that is actually less about parties and more about policy? I don't know, but I do think this might be an expression of that, a glimpse of that, a fingerprint of that. And there are media outlets that like the Associated Press are saying things like Wisconsin and Florida election provide early warning signs to Trump and Republicans. But I don't know if I want to be as obtuse as that. I think I'm just genuinely excited that voters are not static more than they are dynamic in this space, and things are looking very fluid, and I don't know if I see it as a warning sign more than I see it as an opportunity. And I do think that is really, really interesting. So now I wanted to talk about Calley Means, and I didn't know this, but check this out. According to this little descriptor at the bottom, Calley Means is a special government employee for HHS Secretary RFK Jr. I didn't know he was classified as a special government employee. So I think that's the same classification as Elon Musk. And I just think that is super cool. But check out this moment where he goes ahead and defends RFK Jr. and HHS and also takes incredible jabs at big pharma ads on TV, which are the most annoying thing whenever you're staying at a hotel and, you turn on the TV, it's just ad after ad after ad about medication that is just has almost like nothing to do with the person who's watching. It's just crazy. But go ahead and check this out.
Problems and when you turn on CNBC, it's just a nonstop. It's a nonstop infomercial for pharma. It's a Sky Rizzy commercial followed by Scott Gottlieb saying how Bobby's killing people, followed by a breathless coverage of the measles outbreak and no mention of
the mental health crisis. How does cutting a bunch of HHS solve that problem?
It is insane. It is insane for you to insinuate that the thing standing between us and better health is more government bureaucrats. Like that's
not what I meant. That's not what I'm insinuating.
That is what everyone's saying. It is absolutely insane to insinuate that it's some crime.
It's not all bureaucrats. It's a lot of scientists. It's researchers. It's people who are making sure that
those scientists fundamentally have overseen, just demonstrably, a record of utter failure. It would be insane. Is that funny? Is that not true? I'd love to hear how, so what metrics would you guys point to for how the scientific community, how the 4 times more per capita on healthcare spending that we spend in America versus other countries has produced innovation? Has there been one single chronic disease medication in modern American history that has lowered rates of the chronic disease? It is appropriate that the American Academy of Pediatrics right now, which is 90% funded by pharma, is pushing Ozempic on 6-year-olds.
So Calley,
that is what the medical authorities are doing.
Why not then use the power that you guys have to push the existing infrastructure in that direction instead of slashing it altogether?
It's not slashing. It's taking it back to 2017 levels. That's not slashing. The amount of bureaucrats.
It's more like 2002
there's
levels,
a fundament. In many cases, it's actually just not that much. But it is.
So there's a lot of really, really good dialogue here. It's going from Calley Means talking about farm ads, to him talking about the importance of mental health, to talking about how just because you have more workers doesn't mean you are more efficient. And it actually sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole to discover that, Bill Clinton also went through his own little Doge phase where he was wanting to make the federal government a little bit more efficient and not take advantage of the American taxpayer. And you know what happened? He actually ended up cutting, I believe the final number ended up being over 420,000 federal job cuts. That is wild. And you know what's crazy? As I was doing some of this research, like the amount of the headlines that I saw that looked incredibly similar to this, they're comparing it to Trump, but they're like, oh, but they're different. They're so different. Clinton initiative cut over 377 federal jobs in the 1990s. It's not comparable to Trump's effort. One of the headlines that I saw were, oh, here's why President Trump's job cuts are not similar to President Bill Clinton's. And it's like, at the end of the article, you know what I saw? The only reason that it's different is literally because President Trump is doing it his way and President Clinton is doing it his own way. And it's like, what is this? The only problem that I'm really deciphering is that Democrats don't like it because the idea wasn't birthed from their party. And we even saw this from Kamala Harris whenever she was, in the middle of her election. She was talking about wanting a stronger border as well. And they were like, oh, so do you want to continue building the wall? That's what one of the reporters asked her. And she was like, I want us to have a strong border security. And she's like, oh, so are you kind of flip-flopping on that issue? Or have you changed your stance on it? And she couldn't admit the catastrophic failure that was happening on that wall and in terms of border security. She couldn't admit it. Why? Because Democrats just don't know how to take on an idea that is not theirs and continue to show support for it. And I think that is just so irresponsible. It's crazy. So I also want us to talk about RFK Jr. a bit because I saw this. It's a 39-second video, but I do think it's incredibly impactful. He's talking about the birth of a new food pyramid, which I think personally is incredibly exciting. Check this out.
Crazy. And so how willing would you be to look at a new food pyramid and instituting one?
We're doing that right now. When we came in, the Biden administration had created new nutrition guidelines, but they were unworkable, and they were supposed to go into effect on January 20th. I asked President Trump give us permission to kick the ball down to March. And the document that we got from the Biden administration was 453 pages long. Oh, it's completely useless to a mother or to a
Right.
school. And what I said is we want a 3-page document that essentially says you should be eating whole foods.
So I don't know about you, but whenever I saw this, I was like, this is kind of a treat. I did not know this was on the high beams of HHS. I didn't know they were trying to recalibrate the food pyramid, but honestly, I'm super excited about it. It was almost like the cherry on top of a job well done. But to me, this is also another expression that RFK Jr. understands something that so many other of Trump's secretaries don't, which is that simplicity matters and messaging is so critical. Like the fact that RFK Jr. immediately knew that this document, this 453-page document from the Biden administration, was actually going to be utterly useless to most Americans, most mothers, that college student who is really just trying to shop safely and in a healthy way. The fact that he understands that what people really need is a simple 3-page document, I think, is incredibly impactful. Even yesterday, we saw this whenever he issued that statement regarding the job cuts at HHS, and he was saying that it is completely heartbreaking, but there was also a realignment, and the purpose was in order to make America healthier. Again, the purpose was to make this government more efficient, and I do think that is incredibly important and valuable. So I'd love if other secretaries were to go ahead and take some notes from RFK Jr. because he really does understand something that seems to be going over other people's heads. And I do think that is incredibly valuable. But what do you think about all this? What do you think about Scott Jennings on CNN talking about the wins for conservatives yesterday's special election? What do you think about Calley Means obliterating this Politico reporter? And what do you think about this new, never before seen food pyramid that is going to be uncovered by RFK Jr.'s HHS? If you ask me, I'm pretty excited about that. But I want to ask you, all right, guys, let me know what you think about all this in the comment section, and I will see you all next. Episode's over already? Jeez, that was fast. Well, they say beautiful things do not last forever, but feel free to watch and listen to another one of these episodes if you're interested in those conversations as well. Also, this next part is huge. Make sure to obliterate that like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never skip a beat. I also have a newsletter where we dive into the news, politics, and ideas that shape our future. If you're interested in signing up, I'd really appreciate that. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you next time.